Good morning, Ed.
Morning, Mom.
All right. Are we ready to rock and roll? And I better get this thing figured out today.
I'm busy crossing fingers all day.
You are. Me too. Well, I've got the stream running. So if there's people out there watching, yeah, we're going to start in just a minute. Ed, could you say something so I can check volumes?
Checking volumes, I say something, more something.
Well, it looks good to me, but we'll see how this goes. So, I gotta stay on this for a moment, then I'll switch over to the live feed. Hopefully there's not too many technical goof-ups today, but hey, you know what? This is an amateur production by people who don't do this for a living. And that's my alarm. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the mics for a sec here. All right, everybody, here we go. Phone scan. Well, that's annoying.
What's up?
The audio wasn't quite right. Yeah. So, anyway, hi. How's everyone doing? And welcome to the Darkmom Consortium. Strike Group Armada and the Darkmom Consortium presents the first annual Star Trek Online Convention. Hi. And how are you doing, Ed?
I am fine, just managed to connect to the screen.
Well, that's always a good thing.
Yes, so I can see what we are doing.
Well, yeah, okay, first of all, we're changing to something more comfortable. There we go. T-shirt and jeans. Before we do anything else. Yeah, I'm listening to the time lag versus the video, and they're not the same, which is very annoying. But they're close enough. Wow. Well, we've got 3 people here today. So, before we do anything else, I'm going to give everybody the breakdown on what we've got planned for the day. Since we actually have a schedule here, I think. Wakey, wakey schedule. That's the wrong schedule. I want the other schedule. I want that schedule.
Sounds
yes.
like a good plan.
So, for
do we get world domination?
Pardon?
Do we get world domination?
Yes, of course we do. Yeah, if we pull this off, we definitely get world domination. So from 9 till 10, we're going to talk about the history of Star Trek and chit-chat and visit and all that good stuff. 10 o'clock, we're going to focus on the Year of the Klingon, the new work that they've been doing, and some of the new story arcs. At 11 o'clock, we're going to play my favorite new game that I just invented called Epic, or Epic Fail. It's a contest, game, panel thing. We're going to talk about the story arcs that are in the game and discuss where they work, where they don't work, and overall, is it an epic arc? Is it an epic fail? Or somewhere in between. 12 o'clock, if we can find Mar Hawkman, we're going to talk about Fond of the Foundry, which is one of my favorite aspects of Star Trek, or was. 1 o'clock, the game is Name That Episode. We give the quote, you give the episode. 2 o'clock, we're going to talk about the Jemmy story arc, and we have an interview with one of our players. At 3 o'clock, Nick from Cryptic is joining us. I have no idea what we're talking about, so we'll leave that open. 4 o'clock, our second favorite game, 6 Degrees of Star Trek Separation. 5 o'clock is Iron Space Barbie. 6 o'clock, we're going to announce the winners of the party. And at 8 till 10 o'clock, KPR is hosting a dance party. I don't know where yet. And we're going to have an interview with Don Burrito. So we got a lot scheduled for today. So needless to say, what you didn't see happening there was us playing the game. So, yeah, what a switch. 9 hours of us not playing the game. You know what? I think I need to change something real quick here, because I just realized that that isn't showing up. Up there, darn you. Okay, fine, you come down there. That's interesting. There we go. And let's put that alert box up there. And let's put our sponsor banner up there.
So it's not STO-VIR-CON.
STO-VIR-CON, exactly. Star Trek Online virtual convention. So if you do everything right, you wind up going to STO-VIR-CON. You know, you gotta do what you can do. Tomorrow we're going to have Scott and Weston from Cryptic joining us also at 3 tomorrow. So that should be fun. So, let me tell you a little bit about what happened here, and I think Ed knows, but if anybody else is watching this, which apparently no one is, but that's your problem, not mine. Last 2 years, we've gone to the convention as a fleet, and we've hosted a booth and put a lot of time and effort into it, which we were working on. And then when all this hit in March, we kind of started hedging our bets and didn't want to put the thousands and thousands of dollars out there for what might be a lost cause. And yeah, it really does cost us thousands to do it. And we're not talking the travel and the hotels. We're talking the booth price, the electrical, the internet. All these things cost a fortune, because that's how hotels and conventions make their money. So we kind of put everything onto how much can we get done in 6 weeks, because we decided if they hadn't made a firm commitment to whether or not they're going to do it by June 30th, we would start planning on spending the money to go. Okay. Well, a couple of weeks before that, they made the call, and they're postponing it until December. So we will be out in December. But in the meantime, everybody's used to having the August convention. So since we can't go to Las Vegas, we bring Vegas to you. Complete with panels, interviews, games, dance parties, and, believe it or not, we actually have vendors. We have real vendors, people who put together the products they sell, Star Trek products, and made commercials for us to show. So we will be talking about 2 companies. It's SoU.com and Movies on Glass. And they made videos for us, so we'll be showing those throughout here. So it's a real convention just for you. I suppose I should be doing my talky hands emote here so it looks like I'm actually talking. So this has been my life for the last 8 weeks, getting everything ready for this.
For me, all that was much easier, far away from it and observing and telling people, yeah, do this, do that, and be cool.
I have 4 computers sitting around me with stuff on them because I'd take one to work and work on it there. I'd take one back to Chicago when I was going home on the weekends and work on it there. And I'd take one to the office with me to work on at lunch. And then my son started sending me stuff yesterday. So we've got lots and lots of computers. And I finally boiled it down to sheets and sheets of paper sitting around me as well. And you know what? It's really weird, but the paper's easier than all the computer files. So it kind of gets me back to what we wanted to talk about originally in Star Trek Online, at the Star Trek convention. We had submitted the idea of doing a Star Trek Online retrospective because everybody knows the history of Star Trek. Well, most people know the history of Star Trek. Started in 66, and in essence is still around 54 years later. Did I do my math right there? Yeah, 54 years later. In one form or another, it's always been there. But the game itself, well, as you'll hear from a later interview, I want to say that it actually started going into development 2008-ish? Does that sound about right?
No idea.
My son and I were at a Star Trek convention when it was back at the old the convention center next to the Hilton. And it had been there for years, and I can't begin to tell you how uncoordinated that was as a game. Or as a convention, not as a game. But my son wanted to go to this panel on Star Trek, the game. And so we went, and I don't video game at that point. I never played a video game other than to watch him play some things like Wing Commander, which I thought was really cool. And he was talking with, I think it was Michael and Denise Okuda were there. The company who originally was doing the development of it, I want to say it was not Atari, but somebody else. It wasn't Cryptic, if I remember correctly. And they were still in the pre-alpha, still talking about what we're going to do, and they had some ideas about it. And as you know, Ed, when it first came out, it was strictly a Federation game.
And according to people I have spoken, there was no ground play, it was just spaceships.
Right, it was just spaceships to start. Very little story mission too, a lot of space battle, not a lot of ground battle, and as I understand it, this engine was never really developed for ground battle, so for us to have the amount of ground fighting that we do is fairly cool. And even when we have ground fighting, you'll notice that the melee fighting, the close hand-to-hand, isn't the forte of the game. It's definitely fighting at a distance, which I'm told is part of the nature of the engine. Hey, and if you're out there and you're listening to this, which I hope you are, good morning, Rasul. Good morning, Mr. Dave. And either one of you wants to jump into the private channel, you're more than welcome to join us after we get done with this little section here to talk about the history of the game. Yeah, we're being picky. We're not letting everybody into our private channel. So anyway, it was strictly Federation. There was no Klingon side. The story arc was shorter. I don't even remember if it starts out the same way. I want to say that it does, that you start out basically at the academy as a recruit, an ensign. You've been through your 4 years of the academy, and you do a similar tutorial to what's there now. Then you get thrown into some basic missions. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Originally, let's see. There were some other episodes in here, but it was fairly short, and I believe way back at the beginning you could only come up to level 50, and maybe even only level 45. Yeah, level 45 at the beginning. That was the top. But like I said, let's go back a little bit further before that. So 2007, 2008, somewhere in there, probably 2008, it was still very pre-beta, pre-alpha, just a discussion. Then 2010, the game itself comes out after being in beta for a while. And again, still strictly Federation-based, lower caps, a lot of PvE fighting, a lot of mission-based fightings, and I don't even think we had a lot of what are they called? STFs, something task force, strike task force. Was that it?
Special task force.
Special task
nowadays,
force.
Yeah.
The TFO.
Nowadays known as TFO, Task Force Operation.
Yes. Which is easier to think of because every time you think ST, you think Star Trek. Anyway, at that point, when it first came out, it was either subscription or buy a lifetime membership. And lifetimes then, as it is now, was around $200, $300, somewhere in there. And monthly subscriptions were $15 to $20. Not bad. And definitely, in my opinion, worth it. You know, it was money I didn't really have to spend, but what the heck, it was money I could find to spend. And it coincided nicely with the eruption of the reboot of the movies. I don't know, I would have to imagine that the movies were in planning during the game plan. Excuse me for the hoarse voice. It's not that I've got a sore throat or anything, I'm just nervous. Because I want this to go so well. Good morning to Physiker? And how are you today? Let's see, if I remember correctly, this is Rasul. STO is based on the Champions Online engine. Ground combat was what it was meant for, as was ranged combat. Melee in space is basically twisting the engine to stuff distances, and it was never meant to handle. I don't know if that's true. I know they were talking the other day about distance and space were more the milieu than melee is. Yeah, there was not a lot in terms of story arc. There was not a lot in terms of TFOs. What there was a lot more of what are now the patrols, where you'd go into a planet and you might do some space combat. You might get brought down to the planet to do a little ground scenario and a little ground fighting. That kind of disappeared, which is too bad. Yes, I kind of enjoyed that stuff. And I would come home from work every day after I signed up and after spending several weeks of trying to figure out how the hell you play the game. Because I'm sorry, I'm not a gamer. I couldn't figure it out, and I'm constantly yelling at my son for help, and he'd come in, do the eye roll, and show me how to get through things. But even he didn't understand a lot of the, how do I want to put the math of it? How things work together.
The mechanics?
The mechanics, thank you. That's the word I wanted. Yeah, the mechanics of how the game works and how you can start to construct better builds, better ships. And so, yeah, a lot of times I would be in the game for a long time trying to finish out a single thing, thinking, well, they're dropping this stuff for a reason. The reason they're dropping stuff is because they're dropping stuff. It's not to make you better. They want you to do whatever to go and get better stuff, whether you do that in stories or preferably you go and buy it. Well, I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. And that's not really told to you in the course of the mission, that there's all this stuff that you kind of have to know. Thank God for chat. And thank God for my son and his friend to help me start figuring it out. You know, hey, it's not just putting all disruptors on, but now you've got to have the relay or whatever it is to help boost the power. And then when you get this module or that module, it helps it as well. And it starts to become more of a linking together. Russell says STO utterly sucks at explaining its own mechanics. It either doesn't explain stuff, explains it wrong, or simply decides that only explaining half of it has to suffice. Mr. Dave, yes, I can move you, Mr. Dave. Can you give me a moment? Mr. Dave, I'm bringing you down to the closed stream channel. There you go. So,
good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Dave. How are you today?
I'm very excited to be a part of this Star Trek Las Vegas online convention this weekend.
I wish I was in Las Vegas to do it. Wouldn't that be fun? Though I have to say, at this point in the real Vegas thing, we would be on day, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'd be on day 4 of being up at between 5 and 6 to get everything loaded into the car, make breakfast, stop at the grocery store, haul everything into the convention center. But one of the things about once you get everything into the convention center, you've got the special wristbands on where you can go in early and get everything set up, is we'd go over to the little Starbucks at the convention center, and we'd sit there just kind of going, and we'd see people at the table next to us going, and realize it's J.G. Hertzler and his wife. So obviously we weren't the only ones tired by day 4.
Yes, even Matok needs some rest.
Yeah, and coffee.
For some minutes, maybe. Yeah, Raktagino.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, of course, we're far too nice to go over and go, dude, because, I'm not going to do that to him. We were brain dead at that point, and so was he, I'm sure. And then last year, he was absolutely across the aisle from us. But getting back to the game and the lack of understanding, you kind of have to have somebody who understands the game to explain it to you, which is where, having the in-game chat was good, but that brings up the matter of zone chat. Zone chat, I'm sorry, is cancer. Zone chat is not the way to learn how to do things. It's a really good way to never want to play any game again because there's people yelling at you and telling you you're a bad person. And then every now and then you run into somebody who's really good. And we'll talk about fleets later on today. I think today we're talking about fleets. I will double check my schedule. But fleets can be awesome to help players out. Fleets can be completely meh. Can we get an in-game convention center with several rooms where they stream the STO convention panels, etc. on the wall? Yeah, I don't know, Rasul. I'm sure we could figure that out. Me with my lack of technical skills, I don't know. You have better technical skills than I do. You guys figure it out and I'll host it. But sure, I'm sure we can figure everything out. Anyway, so we get back to fleets being good, being bad, just like zone chat being good, being bad. There's a good aspect and a bad aspect to everything in the game. And I think I'm sorry, say that again?
I think you remind me, if you're familiar with World of Warcraft, they have this thing called Baron's Chat. It's very toxic, very, people just like to be, hiding behind, anonymity when it comes to, bad mouthing and providing bad advice. And, press Alt F4 if you want this or whatever. It's typical of MMOs, unfortunately.
I'm sure that everybody likes the idea of the anonymity of a game and not being seen. And I think that's one of the issues that I've got with a lot of social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that, is you aren't a real person. And you can say just about anything and not have to deal with the consequences for the most part. Which is why I enjoy doing this. People know who I am. They know where I live. They've seen me. I actually go to the conventions, though I have to say I didn't write the book under my own name. I put it under Darkmom Consortium, mostly because DT didn't want to have his name out there, and I don't blame him. And I do believe the next book, the person who's writing it is going to do it under their Toon name, and we'll be doing our third book under our Toon names, but I don't make a big effort to hide mine. And if somebody's got an issue with me, then they've got bigger problems to do with, because I'm no one and nothing. And if you want to poke fun at me and make my life miserable, go for it. So anyway, we're back with the start of the game being subscription, being pay to play. And then let's see, what year did they switch it out from pay to play? 2012. Interesting.
Well, I just want to say, I remember when the game first launched, they were having issues with the old space dock, and you would be running around as your starship.
Yeah, I will tell you, the first couple of days when I think I had to find Sulu. on the space dock, and I'm like, where the son of a... Where is... I'm yelling at my son, show me where he is. How do I find people? What's this stupid map? How do I do this? And I guess it's become a meme of its own, where's Sulu, almost as much as here's Kurland here. Yeah, it was... Ed, I don't know, you said, I think you started in 2014?
Yes, end of 2014.
Okay, so you didn't...
So many things have
changed.
Been done.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I think if you go into a game already understanding how to play a game, it's easier. I didn't go into the game understanding how to play a game. Mom is too old to be trolled. Thanks, Musin, but yes, I am. Well, you could.
I remember going into Star Trek Online about the same time. DC Universes came on board, and Star Wars Galaxies was just sunsetting there. So I was looking for anything, because I had just committed 8 years into Star Wars Galaxies, and it was offline. And I had gotten into their lifetime subscription, so I've been, ever since the game launched. And the importance of fleets, going back to what you were saying, is like Strike Force Group here. I don't know a lot, and I've been with this game for a long time, and I'm a very casual player just because it's so complex. And without a fleet, you really are sort of lost.
Well, actually, we're going to have a whole hour discussion about fleets, how they benefit the game, how they benefit the player. And that, I think, is tomorrow. It's called Fleet is Mother, Fleet is Father. Bonus points if you know the reference. Anybody get the reference to Fleet is Mother, Fleet is Father? God, I'm so old. Okay. No problems. But yeah, we're going to talk about that because I think fleets can be a huge benefit for a player. They can be a huge pain in the butt for a player. They can actually damage the game. They can make it unfun. It's just like zone chat and bad TFO players can be. Pugs can be one of the worst aspects of the game. Or great. It's Babylon 5, Rasul.
Psychor.
Yeah, exactly. I like, crossing my genres just a little bit. Let's get my franchises mixed up.
Heretic!
I know. But this is the only game I play, so I have to have other things in my life. Though I was looking at accumulated gameplay, and I think I've got several years of accumulated game time at this point. And people are like, oh, you can't have played that long? Yep, I really could. I really could have. So the whole allure, in my opinion, of Star Trek Online was that you got to be a starship captain. You got to, in essence, interact with what's going on in the world of Star Trek. Admittedly, you're not interacting with Kirk or Picard, though now we've got a lot more of the voice actors. And it's changed a wee bit. I was just replaying Quark's Lucky 7 this morning, realizing how immersive that is because you get to play as Rom, as Nog, as Lek. And it really does become a much more immersive thing. And we're going to talk a lot about that tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow at 3 o'clock with Scott and Weston from Cryptic, because we're going to do a whole thing on the art of the cutscene. So Musin says, I don't talk in team chat or all during a TFO. I was playing, The Vault? One of the Romulan TFOs. A year ago, 2 years ago, and it's one I rarely played because it's really easy to screw it up. And I got in, and you've got the minute of pre-chat and everything's going on, and whoever the lead was for the TFO had a preset little script, and he came out and he put it in chat. How many of you have played this mission before? Okay, if you haven't played the mission before, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Stay right behind me, I will keep you on track. And lo and behold, it was brilliant. So it was really a nice one to go into it with somebody who's willing to host the team, tell you what to do, tell you how to make it a success, and kudos to that guy. And for that matter, let me run over here. I'm going to change this guy. When I first started with this fleet, every Sunday, Ron would have 5 of us come back here and have a seat. And we would sit down and he would say, okay, we're going to do this mission. We're going to do Borg the Cure Applied, or one of the other Borg missions. He would have us go through our equipment. He'd tell us what makes for better equipment. If we didn't have it and couldn't afford it because there's Spank right around the corner, he would get it and give it to you. We would go through it looking at maps. He'd make sure everybody had seen the preview and studied it, looked for trigger lines, things like that. We'd go through the normal one. We'd come back, confab for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, check our gear, rediscuss it, wait for it to get off cooldown. He'd bring in some other friends who may be a little bit better qualified for it, and rinse and repeat until we understood how the mission worked. Ron, I don't know if you're out there. I know you're sometimes here, so Ron, kudos to you, sir. You made the game so much more fun.
Half a minute. Get out on the dance floor.
Dear Physiker, I had the good luck to get invited to a good and friendly fleet, and when I started to look out for other fleets for my other characters, I found only nice fleets. Yeah. I honestly think that there's so many good fleets out there because the fleets that were toxic and nasty didn't survive, or they have people in them who enjoy that. Yeah, as Rasul puts it, you're interacting in it in a non-casual way. So you're more observing than interacting versus Cork's Lucky 7 where you are that person, so you really do get immersive into it. Ooh, Musin won a 2000 Zen card last night. Congratulations. Yeah, I have to say I've been through 2 meh fleets. Not bad fleets, just meh. And then I met Fur. I met Fur here at Ryza. Boy, everything in my life that's good happens on Ryza pretty much, or on New Romulus. Hey, there's Rasul right now. Hi, Rasul. Hi. So needless to say, Ryza is one of my fun spots where I enjoy going. I'm sure somebody can help you out with that. Hey, Ultimate Bacon Overlord, good morning. Welcome to Star Trek Virtual Convention. Oh, bummer. Why don't the codes work over there? That sucks. Excuse my language. I apologize. So, getting back on track here. Oh, that's good. That's good. So originally, as I said, we only went to level 45, and I would come home from work every evening and sit down and do 1 patrol or 1 mission, bearing in mind that a patrol or a mission at that time could take me up to an hour. Oh, okay, here we go. Cryptic Studios officially announced the development of Star Trek Online on July 28th, 2008. So it must have been at that August convention. So very cool. Okay, console versions were announced several months before the release with no specific console platform specified, but Cryptic announced that all console versions of their games are on indefinite hold due to difficulties, quote, on the business side of things, close quote, largely referring to the fees assessed by Microsoft for Xbox Gold Premium online gaming service and the difficulty in asking a player to pay both that and the Cryptic subscription fee to play a single game. Console support for both Microsoft Xbox One and PlayStation 4 was made available in September of 2016. Holy moly, that was 4 years ago. Wow. STO closed beta test officially. The beta began in October of 2009. Cryptic offered guaranteed beta access to users who bought 6-month and lifetime subscriptions to Champions Online. However, the offer did not explicitly state how early in the beta process access would be granted. Some pre-order packages included access to an open beta running from January 12th to January 26, 2010. Gee, does that sound familiar for a lot of you? I assume a lot of you came in with a way back there. Xbox Gold membership is why I still don't play MMOs on Xbox. I don't blame you. Don't blame you. I mean, it's fun, but I honestly am trying to figure out how much of my life I can enjoy without spending any more money. I'll spend it on a good internet connection, though. Getting back to Star Trek Online. So, other folks, when did you get into the game? We've got a few people who we've interviewed here. Ed and Rasul and Harold and Balar and I'm missing somebody. Ed Russell, Baylor. There's somebody else in there too. Talking about how they got into the game, but we usually get wildly off track. So I know, Ed, you came in 2014. Yeah, we all have to pay for internet, Musin. So Ultimate Bacon Lord said I joined about a year after first release. Yeah, I remember being less than enthusiastic when the game was announced at the Star Trek convention way back when, because I didn't play games, but my son convinced me that I'd want to, and then got the package and the 6+ hour upload. That was not a fun evening. Then to find out it had only partially uploaded before I lost my internet connection, so I had to redo it the next day.
Yeah, my life started easier because at that time Star Trek Online already was free to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And after 6 weeks or so, I knew, okay, that will be your new single game you're going to play, and used to a subscription game before. Okay, rather than now any longer paying a monthly fee for game X, now just buy the lifetime subscription for your new stuff. And yeah, that I spent some years spending considerable dough for starships and the like, and
Yes.
packages, but the fun mostly made for it, and I've learned a lot about distinguish between advertisement and content and what is in the box, in the virtual box, but I never should buy a used car. Definitely not. But it's over the years, the game got more free to play friendly than it has been, and I always liked it. In the early is so cool. Yes, it's 6 years ago. So for me, even when I was started late in game history, I think it's I'm old enough to say early those days.
Wow. Captain Darling says I've only been on STO for a few months. A friend from WoW's told me to try it. So Captain Darling, what do you think of the game since you've only been on for a few months? And I'm going to tell you, you're hitting some really nice content and some of the better changes we've had in a long time. So you're getting a really nice version of it compared to those of us who have been through some of the less than epic arcs, shall we say?
Yeah, the growth phase. In many ways, Cryptic had kind of a learning curve, and what people enjoy and what they do definitely not enjoy.
Yeah. I think that's going to come up when we talk about epic versus epic fail, which is one of those times when they thought they got it right and you probably didn't.
In many ways, we see awesome times.
Oh yes.
What gives me then now a little bit growl. Great idea, but not implementation not tested long enough. Why do you release so early? Okay, you have to work on a time plan and people get impatient, I understand, but a little bit more, more of less bugs.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've heard discussed and can't speak too much to it is that a lot of the quality control, that you want people to test it out and play it out, you need a fair number of people because the permutations are pretty intense. And sometimes you don't know if something's a bug or if it's intended. So for those of you who are currently on Ryza, for and started on Tuesday. Oops, that's weird. My floater unfloated. Why did my floater unfloat? There we go. If you come out here to the weather control ship, so you see the little doodly-doos coming down from the whatever those are. That graphic effect, that distortion was happening all over Ryza. And I'm just thinking, hey, what a cool effect to make it look like the weather control device of the new ship is affecting all of Ryza and we get to see it. No, it was a glitch. So, if you're not sure if it's a glitch or intended, how do you know if it's a bug? And so I wonder how much of it is just a lack of communications as well as a lack of really intense playthrough. Yeah, Captain Darling, I agree. But you can control the interface to a large degree and, get rid of what you like, dislike. I've got too much stuff on mine, even with, a 42-inch monitor sitting in front of me. And if I shrink everything, then I can't read it. The joys of getting older. I remember at my first days, I didn't know that I could fire all weapons with spacebar, so I used my number one key per weapon. Yeah, you're not the only one. And then somebody once said, well, just spam the spacebar key. Huh? I'm an old lady. What does spam the spacebar key mean? Oh, wow. Okay, now I've learned two things. Spacebars fire weapons, all weapons, and spam means smack the bejeebers out of it. But every now and then I think I'm old and I'll make a reference at work to something and I'll, put a little XD at the end of something funny. And the other person will respond with, what does XD mean? What does IKR mean? What's a noob? So I guess I'm not as old as I think I am. Star Trek, you've brought me into the modern world. Kicking and screaming the whole way.
A whole new world of emotes and even now people invent new abbreviations.
Hey, Mom,
Even
let
for
me know
things
when you want to hear my backstory.
Sure, give me 1 second to do this. Let Ed finish what he's saying, and then it's your turn.
Yeah, it's learning permanently, but now I shut up and listen and enjoy.
Okay. Captain Darling, really quick. You're not the first person to say for a new player it's a little too daunting, which is why Darkthorne and I actually wrote a book. And we're writing books 3 and 4 at the moment. Centurion Alpha is writing book number 2. So the whole idea is that, if you are a noob and you're not a gamer, there's a place for you to go. Mr. Dave, you are on.
Hello, good morning. So I started Star Trek Online at the sunset of Star Wars Galaxies, and I was looking for a new MMO that had space combat. There wasn't a whole lot of games, tailored for that. So I already had my superhero game lined up. I was going to start playing DC Universe Online, getting involved there. And so since Star Wars Galaxy was sunsetting, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and try to get on board with Star Trek Online. And I went full force. Okay, this was back, so many years ago. Del Taco was having special promo codes. And I was always going to Del Taco, which I never eat, and promo codes for Star Trek Online. And so that was rather fun. So I got into Star Trek Online, and yeah, it was very clunky, and things really didn't work out. I remember the Klingons was eventually made it was just like a PvP thing to be a Klingon.
Right.
So I wasn't, too involved in it, but only for the space combat. So a lot of times if you ever see me playing it, it's still only towards space combat, even though like we were talking about how the game isn't designed for ground combat still. I always loved the Constitution refit, so it came many years later, but when it came, I had to get it, sort of thing. And I'm glad I got that, but just going through the game, I'm a very casual player in Star Trek Online. I have other games do play unlike yourself, so you don't see me on as often because I'm more invested in them, and I think Captain Darling was saying, it is a very complex game. There's a lot of things to this day, even though I was like a day one subscriber, I don't know and I don't care to know. I just want to go in, blow things up, and get out.
But I want to blow things up efficiently. If it takes 20 minutes for you to take down one ship, it gets a little boring.
Mom,
What?
maybe Captain Cuddles will talk with you about your ship build these days. Gordelicious looks a little bit weak for the power he should
Oh,
have.
Gornalicious is extremely weak. All my tunes are weak. I'm so interested in playing the game that I don't want to do the back work on it. It's like building a good spreadsheet. If you want to do it right, you're going to spend hours doing all the setup. And there's that part of you going, I just want to do it. I don't want to do all the work.
Just do 2 simple tricks next time we meet, and maybe you see a difference and have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, Mr. Dave.
Well, you'll realize a lot of my reputations are at 0 because I don't take the time to bother with them. I do the storyline, get up to 65. I try to find the best weapons I can, and I don't bother with duty officers. I got a bunch of prisoners I don't deal with, stuff like that. Just because those separate metagames don't get me to the goal I want. Like I think the task forces they have where you can do so many over a period of a month or so. I think that's good for me because it gets me that burst experience. But I got so little time as we get older, you know what I'm saying? And I use my time on online gaming more sparingly. But unlike you having one game that you play, I got World of Warcraft, I got The Sims, I got DC Universe Online, I got Star Wars Galaxies. Wow. Yeah, so it's hard to divide my time, accordingly. And this for me is more like the bursty fun, get in, get out, get my fix. So if you don't see me online that often, it's because I always enjoy the game. I just don't have either have the time or my time is divided up where I get my fix by watching your streams.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I do agree with you. One thing I see with a lot of players is it's easy to get burned out because if you're playing this and you're doing reputation and R&D, there's a lot of grinding just to get through it, to get everything you need. And that can get boring. When it stops being a game and starts being work, then you have to, decide, is this what I want to do with my time? Having just moved 200 miles away from my husband and my dogs for a job, I basically work 9 to 5, come home and play Star Trek. And that's it. That is my life. I don't have a TV here. I have one book now. And I have my bicycle. Now that once this weekend is done, once we're done with the convention, the bike is going to get ridden. So I will have 2 things to do. Ride a bike and play Star Trek Online. Eventually, though, the family will be out here once I've got a house and I will go back to having a normal life. But yeah, right now I'm probably on the game around 40 hours a week. And you can see where the burnout rate could be really high. I can certainly see it if you're doing all the grinding as well. Except at Ryza. I never mind grinding on Ryza. Ryza is awesome. Yeah,
Ryza has all the fun you can stand.
So Captain Darling says, I think the worst mistake I made was choosing science and not buying the Lucari Raider immediately. Well, yes, and yeah, I actually agree with you. Though the Lucari Raider, while it's really awesome, there's other ships that you could do. But I've learned from experience that when something comes up as a freebie in the game, absolutely grab it because you might regret it later. And if there's something you really want, get it. It may not be there later. But yeah, science is tough for a good build. You can make an adequate build, no doubt, but good builds can get a lot more challenging. Yeah, there's some
Science can be so easy to be awesome.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, yeah. Some of
but
us...
the secret of science, know what you do and nobody else does.
Science of real life, too. But Sci-Tunes can be awesome. They were my first ones because, of course, I wanted to be Spock, but I didn't want to be a Vulcan Spock, so I became an Andorian. So my first tune is an Andorian. Russell says, yes, up to 50k DPS is reasonably easy with any build, which I've never gotten beyond 30, but beyond that, that becomes way harder. Yes and no. There's a lot of people who just specialize in doing these high DPS builds, and more power to them. If that's what you enjoy, then go for it. It's not that I could care less, but I enjoy the ground aspect. If you've ever seen any of the videos or the music videos I've made, space battle isn't the focus, though a couple of them have been. More of it is the storytelling, and especially lately I've enjoyed the stories. And we're going to be talking about Year of the Klingon starting at 10 o'clock. And especially about how the Klingon arc has really evolved, and some of the newer stuff that's come out has been fabulous. But where was I going with that? I have no idea. I lost my track. It's only 9:49 and I've lost my mind already. Goodness gracious.
That's never a good thing.
I had 2 cups of coffee, too. I splurged and walked all the way over to the good coffee shop to get a good coffee this morning, just for you guys. First cup of really good coffee since I've gotten here. Just for you. Just so I'd be awake. Captain Darling, I don't know. I think STO seems super NES to be free to play. I'm not sure what that means. Super easy to be free to play? Yeah, everything you can get in free to play if you're willing to put in the time. Yeah, there's a ton of lockbox consoles with stuff. There's a ton of stuff on the exchange, especially if you get it before it becomes popular. Chain conduit, weaponry, whatever that console is, I picked up for 200,000 and was going for something million today because everybody's realizing that it's a taser. It's a freaking taser. You can tase everybody.
Yeah, the best zapper I know.
Yep. So it's fun when you find the fun things. And then, of course, as quickly as it becomes the thing, such as the assimilate module became the thing and everybody was assimilating this, that, and everything, then it faded out. Rasul got me into using the flaily bubble, which I still adore, but there's other things that have supplanted it since then. So there is a kind of constant change that requires you to pay a little bit of attention. And a build that was awesome a month ago may not be quite as awesome this month. So there's that. I won't say it's planned obsolescence. I don't want to put that kind of planning into Cryptic's hands. I don't think they do it. But I think people figure out new ways to do stuff, and so the standard is constantly changing.
Many things work as good these days as they worked a year or even 2 years ago. Just there is fancy new stuff that is working even better.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's a matter of combining old things with new things into something as nasty nobody could expect. One sample, you told about assimilation being the new Elvis kit module, so to say.
Yes.
But that's only a part of it. Make a full Borg themed build with collective will and stuff, and you get more from it. And most confusing, the stuff around that that benefit from assimilated enemies like collective will, where you do big hits based on your on your friends, in this case assimilated foes, your team members, your bridge officers, your drones, your whatevers. That is kind of a cheap thing still. Just I think some of the price comes from, or of the high prices comes from, okay, it has been discovered or someone has streamed about it. Now it's got popular, but the other things are still cheap, and explore the thing when the items are fresh, so that you get now my box theme characters really make me really happy, and some other characters too. When I start following themes, it's the Borg thing is like you have a kind of a theme that sounds like being roleplay based, but actually the mechanics also follow the same thing. So be all Borg and you are stronger than being partial Borg, and
Partial Borg?
yeah, partially liberated, partially collective, whatever. Maybe I am it's not the most reasonable person in game, because I start considering being my own little Borg queen or Borg king and the like, and well, I should be happy to be liberated on my own, but sometimes I miss the power of being in a collective, so I start creating my own.
Not bad.
Sorry, I'm losing my. I think I'm losing my marbles now.
Oh?
Yeah, reason goes away and the silly talk starts.
Well, that's a good reason for us to take a really quick break here. Let me catch up on this, and then we're going to actually have a commercial, if you can believe that, which I always think is amazing that we have commercials here. So let's catch up on notes here. Russell, in my opinion, it's a O Shiny must have on one hand, and B, a slow and steady intentional raising of the ceiling of what can be done on the other hand, and C, new interactions of the old stuff and new shiny stuff on yet another hand, and lastly, sometimes stuff gets nerfed, bugs fixed, exploits removed, which is rare but does end up removing the occasional build on yet another new hand. That's a lot of hands, Russell. Captain Darling, yeah, I got 20 million yesterday from finding a few ultra rare officers for 300k each and resold them for 3 million. That's one of the tricks if you want to raise EC, is to know what to buy and sell. So super easy if you know how to make lots of marks. I've also gotten the Maquis Raider and Science Dread from using the dilithium exchange, but again, I was talking to someone who played a year that had never used it. I figured you meant bought there. And Rasul, I'm a handful, you should know. All right, we're going to take a super quick break here. We're actually going to do a commercial really quick. Can you believe it? We've got a real commercial here. So let's see if this works. I'm going to shut up, and we're going to come back and talk about the year of the Klingon in just a moment. So Ed, I'm turning off the mics. Rasul, I'm turning off the mics. We'll be right back. Hey, this works so much better if I turn the mics back on. Okay, yeah, works then. So that was from Movies on Glass. They are a vendor on Etsy, and they do Star Trek and other movie-themed custom-made handmade glasses, drinking cups, things like that. So do check them out. If you order anything during the order any Star Trek stuff during the Star Trek convention, use the discount code STO-CON, STO-CON. Rasul, where are you? Rasul, I'm going to pull you into the closed stream here because we're going to be talking about the Klingon Ark. So let me do one thing here. I'm going to make my life easy.